Welcome. I'm Ashley Gross. I'm a reporter with KNKX Public Radio in Seattle, and we also are based in Tacoma. And we're here today to talk to you about audio diaries, which is a really fun way to produce your own personal story and tell it on the radio with a lot of different elements. So we'll get into what that entails. But first, I want to introduce the people here who are joining me in this presentation. We've got Erin Hennessy. She works in community outreach and education at KNKX. And she used to be our news director at our radio station for more than 2 decades, where she was making decisions day by day about things like breaking news, such as covering landslides, earthquakes, even a train that derailed onto a highway. So Erin was the one making those decisions and sending out the team of reporters to go out and cover those stories for the radio. And I'm also joined here by Ukweli Bayard, who is 18 years old and is a 2020 graduate of Charles Wright Academy in Tacoma. And Ukweli has produced radio stories and podcast pieces for KNKX this year while he's taking a gap year before starting college, and came to us through our Take the Mic youth storytelling project. So we're really glad to have Ukweli with us. He's also an Eagle Scout and a pianist and a music composer. So it's exciting to have this team here. And I cover education stories for our radio station. And so I've been doing a lot lately on remote school and what that looks like for students and families and the transition back in the pandemic to some kind of in-person learning. So we're here today to explain what an audio diary is and how you make one. So we've got a picture here of Ukweli. He's demonstrating recording his voice onto a voice memo app on his phone. It's really easy. There are free apps you can download. And on the right of the screen, you can see what that might look like. My recording app is called iRecorder, but you can get a lot of different ones through the App Store or Google Play. And so an audio diary is a personal story that explores something that a person is wrestling with. It usually has to do with something that they, that's maybe weighing on them or that they've like thought a lot about and want to explore by telling their own story. And what is cool about audio diaries is that you can weave in a lot of different audio elements to tell the story. So it's not just you talking, but you can also include snippets of interviews with family members or with friends. You can weave in sound of from, say, home movies or TV shows or things happening around your house or out in your community. And so at KNKX, we started a project about a year ago called Take the Mic to get youth stories on the radio, especially as the pandemic hit, because it was really hard to reach young people, and with schools out of session, it was hard to know what their experiences were like. And so we kind of put the call out for young people to record their own stories, and if possible record other elements like interviews and other audio, and email those to us. And so I've been producing those stories to air on the radio, and they've been really delightful. They've offered a real interesting window into what this year has been like for teens and kids. And I want to play you one of the audio diaries that we got, which was actually the very first piece that we got from one of our young people submitted for Take the Mic. Is from a girl named Aulona Hoja, who lives south of Seattle in Burien, and she was a high school senior when she sent us this story. And she sent she recorded herself talking into her phone, and sharing her thoughts about what it's like to be an older sibling and trying to help her younger siblings understand what they need to do to stay safe and to not catch the coronavirus. And then she interviewed her younger sister, and she sent me the interview with the younger sister, and then I mixed those together with audio editing software. Right now you're looking at what I use, which is Adobe Audition, and added some music, and this is what came out of it. So I'll just play, well, make sure that I have the audio. Let's see. Can you hear it?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, should work now. Okay.
Since being at home during the coronavirus outbreak, what is your biggest worry?
My biggest worry that my mom and dad are gonna get it, also my family, also me. My mom and dad are getting much more older and I'm afraid they're gonna get it.
I have 3 younger siblings, and I think that you can try and explain as much as you want, but to people who are under the age of 5, it's really hard for them to grasp that, if you don't wash your hands, you could make somebody sick, or you could become sick yourself. How are we helping each other with these worries and fears? Are we helping each other?
Yes.
How?
I distract myself and my family distracts me, and I play Roblox and I watch TV and I sometimes watch a movie or a show.
And does it make you feel better?
Yes.
I'm the one who has to hold their hands and make sure that they don't stay close to people. I'm the one who has to wash their hands with them and teach them the proper way to do it. And I'm the one who has to make sure that they understand it's serious and to take it serious. And that's hard when you have younger siblings. Are you sad that you have to stay at home?
Yes.
Like, remember how we had to celebrate your birthday at home and you couldn't throw a party like everybody else? It's also really hard to be the one who has to explain to them and break the bad news about things like, well, we can't watch that movie you really wanted to watch for like a month now, and we can't really celebrate your birthday and have a party like you wanted. We have to kind of cancel those things, and we can't really go to that friend's house that you really wanted to go to. It's really hard to be the person who has to break these things to your siblings, especially when those things mean so much to them at this age.
So I just love that story because it's so honest, and you can just picture them sitting side by side on the couch and talking about what this experience has been like. And I think, a lot of people can kind of imagine, the 7-year-old like playing Roblox and, sad about her birthday party not being with all her friends. And so I think that intimacy is what is really powerful with audio diaries, and Alona did a really great job of just speaking into her phone and sharing her thoughts and feelings, and I just was so happy with how that story turned out. I had to ask her to send me the audio of a happy birthday, and then I was able to weave that in, but it was I thought it really captured what life was like, especially as the pandemic first hit. But so now I want to talk with Ukweli, who came to us and said he wanted to learn audio production. And so Ukweli, I'm wondering what made you want to get into this? What drew you in?
Well, I've always been really interested in radio and journalism. And I remember one of my earliest memories is sitting in the car with my mom and listening to NPR on the way to school. And I always loved hearing stories and hearing the news. So as soon as I knew I was going to take a gap year because of COVID, I decided to start reaching out. And I reached out to KNKX to see if there was any possibility of working with them or of being an intern or anything like that. And so they told me about this opportunity to work on the audio diaries. So I was really excited when I heard about that.
What have you enjoyed so far about doing that? I mean, you've been interviewing, some of your friends. What has that been like?
I really like being able to share stories to a wider audience that otherwise wouldn't be able to hear them and wouldn't even be able to empathize with their experiences. So I'm sharing the stories of my peers who are going off to college with people all over the city who, like a lot of them aren't in that age group or in that demographic, so might not know about their experiences with COVID in a time like this. So it's really cool to be able to hear feedback from teachers or other people who hear those stories on the radio and being able to hear those different perspectives. So I
Yeah,
really,
that's exciting when people are like, I heard you on the radio. Yeah. Has there been anything that surprised you, like that was harder than you expected?
definitely. I think a lot of the things that go on behind the scenes with putting together stories and a lot of like having to rely on other people who you're interviewing, that's something that I didn't really expect as much. And that kind of surprised me, like having to coordinate and make sure that other people have like what you need for the story. And yeah.
You mean people at the station?
Or no, the people that you're interviewing,
Mhm.
like sometimes they won't respond or sometimes you can't get in contact with somebody at like one of the organizations you want to interview. So that was something that I didn't expect.
Yeah. Well, one of the really great things that you've done in working with us at the radio station is that you worked on this episode of our podcast called Transmission, which is all about life in the pandemic. And you worked on this episode all about your friends who did go off to college this year, who did not do a gap year like you, to find out what their lives were like, especially with, so many restrictions on their social lives, being there on campus because of the virus and stuff. And so we wanted to share some little short excerpts from that. The first one, actually, I should say that the podcast is hosted by Jennifer Wing, a really talented reporter at our radio station. So you'll hear her voice kind of sprinkled throughout these segments. But the very first one deals with you, Ukweli, and your decision to stay home and not go to college this year, and also what you've been doing with your time, including helping your younger sister learn piano.
When I planned to go to UW, I originally wanted to defer so I could take a gap year this year and then go to UW next year. But their policy states that you can't do that. I was kind of disappointed at first just because of all the hard work from last year with testing and taking certain classes and stuff. But I'm at peace with it now.
Ukweli has some very adult responsibilities right now.
I'm the oldest. I have a 5-year-old sister and my little brother is 2.
Their names are Piper and Keaton.
And I'm teaching my little sister how to play piano.
Is it okay if I'll just play and I'll read the numbers?
Okay, that sounds good. And usually watch my siblings for a little bit while my mom goes to exercise and my dad's working.
If it's just a solid black note, what kind of note is that?
Quarter note.
A quarter note, right. And how many beats is a quarter note?
1.
So, Ukweli, can you tell us a little bit about like how that was put together? Because you didn't record all of that all as one file, right? Can you tell us how that came together?
Mm-hmm. Right. So I recorded different audio bits, like the one of my sister, and then the like ones of me speaking, and I spliced them together. I use a program called Logic Pro X, and it's really helpful with splicing audio and mixing and all of that. So, and I was able to do that because I have previous experience with mixing music. So that was really helpful with this.
And you collaborated with Jennifer on writing her script, or like, how did you send that to her and then she wrote the part that she was going to say?
Yes. Yeah. We collaborated, sending it back and forth with the writing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's great. And what did your sister think about like being recorded while she was practicing piano?
I'm not sure if she like really understood it, but I think she thought it was pretty cool when she heard it. When we played it back the morning that it aired, she thought it was really cool.
Fun. Okay, well, here's another segment, which is where you asked 2 of your friends to keep audio diaries while they're at college. And so you had them record different voice memo recordings about their experiences there. And one of your friends is Josh, who goes to Northeastern, right? Northeastern University in Boston. And so this part explores kind of how Josh is, trying to make friends and have a social life in a year when, it's really hard to do that.
The place that Josh and his friends find themselves going to again and again is a donut shop called Doughboys.
And what is up? It is Sunday, October 11th. It's Sunday morning. Last night I went out with some friends to this donut place called Doughboy Donuts.
Here we are at the T stop. We're about to get on the orange line.
Basically, it's like this donut place that's open 24 hours.
Bella, are you excited to go to Doughboy?
Of course, it's my favorite place.
All right, let's go.
I'm looking for some excess calories today.
All right, same, man.
It's kind of become like this central location in my social group for some reason. I don't know why, but we go there a lot and we eat way more donuts than we should, and it will be a healthy amount. But it's kind of a fun thing to do with the boys.
Okay, so we are currently minutes away from getting Doughboy. How's everyone feeling out there?
I'm feeling stoked.
Alrighty. What are you gonna order, Julian?
You know, I like to keep it simple, and I'm gonna go with a glazed donut today.
All right.
Are we gonna practice some self-constraint? How you doing? Could I just get 3 glazed donuts? Yeah. Thank you.
This is what a fun night out on the town is right now for 18-year-old college kids. 3 glazed donuts in a paper bag.
What I love about that part is that it's a really great example of what we call active sound. So recording people doing things, not just standing there in their room recording their thoughts, but recording audio of things happening, riding the subway, the T line, with his friends, going to the donut store and recording that transaction. And so it really makes a story come to life. It makes you able to envision what's going on. And so, Ukwili, I'm wondering, how did you explain it to Josh? Like, was that hard to explain what you wanted to get? And then did he feel weird at all doing that?
I think he was a really good choice because he's a pretty outgoing guy and he was pretty comfortable with it. And it didn't take too much explaining, but I basically just told him about the work I was doing with KNKX and how I wanted to tell the story to relate the experiences of a college freshman going to college during a pandemic and show what his life is like. And so I gave him those instructions and then he took it from there and came up with all these different segments of him and his friends or of him in his dorm. And yeah.
So did you have a lot of other stuff that you didn't wind up using then?
Yeah, there was a lot of audio that we didn't use, but I think working on these has helped me with my ear for different segments that are important enough to make the cut. So I think it's really important to choose audio that's going to evoke emotion. So like with this piece that you just played, it makes the audience laugh. And then there was also some parts that make you feel empathy for Josh and Aaliyah. And so, yeah, I think I just learned the importance of evoking emotions through the storytelling.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Ukwili. That's really central to what we're trying to do. So then you mentioned Aaliyah, who's your other friend who goes to University of Washington, and she this I think is a better as just an example of her kind of, in her room telling her story and the intimacy that comes with that. So she's going to talk about kind of a difficult moment she experienced trying to navigate social life on campus.
Friday the 30th. Tomorrow's Halloween, and I'm not going to do anything. But I never recorded how my meeting went when I broke some rules playing spike ball.
That's right. While Josh is having a blast exploring Boston with his new friends and eating too many donuts, Aaliyah gets busted for playing spike ball, steps away from her residence hall.
I got writ up by the RAs. Pretty much everything I did wrong was there was too many people. I wasn't allowed in the building that I was in. I wasn't in my residence hall. I was in the one next to it because mine doesn't have a courtyard and the other one does. So we went there. And I guess I'm really only allowed to talk to, or I guess hang out with people on my floor. We're really not supposed to be associating with anyone. So it was a learning experience. I got let off with a warning. I was found guilty, as they put it.
She says if she gets caught doing something like this again, she'll have to write an essay.
And then the third time, I think I would be kicked out. Like, I'd have to go home, and you don't get refunded for your food and your room and board.
So, Ukweli, why did you want to include that story in the piece?
I thought it was a really good story just to show some of the struggles of going to college at a time like this, because students, especially freshmen, want to meet new people and hang out and have fun, but there's a lot of guidelines that you have to follow, and sometimes even if you're trying to follow the guidelines, you might accidentally break some of them. So it just shows some of the struggles that a lot of students are probably going through right now.
Yeah, I mean, that story that she told kind of blew me away when I heard it. I was like, wow, how can these students, this, like, their college experience is so different now, and it just feels so unfair. And I think, like, that's the power of this kind of storytelling, because you hear, directly from her, how it feels to go through that. Erin, did you have anything that you wanted to weigh in on the?
Well, I think both of these excerpts really are great illustrations of what Ukweli was saying about the evoking emotion. So the humor of the tea line and the donuts, and then evoking empathy with the spike ball incident, because she was really being conscientious, and navigating this is so difficult. So there's just no substitute from hearing it first person from someone who's experiencing it. So I thought it really worked.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. Well, Ukweli, I'm wondering, do you have any tips that you would share in terms of gathering good audio? I mean, did you tell Josh and Aaliyah any advice when they were going to do their audio diaries?
I think just keeping in mind the audience is really important, and keeping in mind making it clear to the audience what kind of story you want to tell, and making sure to have intentions in your head of what you want the audience to take away from your story is really important. So when you're collecting audio, just have all that in mind and make sure that you're being clear, and I think you'll be good if you keep those kinds of things in mind.
Yeah. And then there are some just mechanical things and tips about recording audio that I would like to share. I enlisted my family to make a silly little video. My husband is a long-time radio professional who recently moved on to work for the public health department, but I enlisted his help, and I got my 12-year-old to film it and edit it. So bear with us. It's rough, but here we go.
Hi, I'm Ashley Gross. I'm a reporter with KNKX, here with some lessons on audio recording and some pitfalls that you should try to avoid. So today I started my new job at Trader Joe's, and everybody seems really nice there, I'd say. Today was a pretty cool day. I was at the register, and so I was at the register, and then this guy walked in, and he was not wearing a mask, and I was like, sir, you gotta wear a mask, and what?
Do you remember the first time we went downhill skiing?
Yeah.
I mean, that was like a crazy day, right? You remember that?
Yes.
Remember when we were on the chairlift and then Ezra was on the chair behind us and he fell out of it like as they were getting on?
Yeah.
So that first week when they said that school was basically just canceled, I mean, it wasn't even remote at first, right? It was just like, stay home. What was going through your head?
I mean, I guess I was just thinking, it's only gonna last for like a week.
Me too. That was my first thought.
Yeah, I thought it was just gonna be for like a week.
I thought exactly. It's like a week and then, or maybe 2 weeks at the most. So it's like, it's like a snow break or something.
Right, exactly. It was kind of like when we had that snowstorm and then they stayed home.
Exactly.
And everything.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Totally. Yeah. No. Totally.
And yeah, I mean, I guess I was kind of worried, because there's like this scary virus out there, and I'm thinking, like we have to just stay home.
We have to stay home and just like do everything we can because that's the priority, right?
Right.
Right. Like that was like what I was thinking. I mean, do you want to know what I was thinking? Let me tell you more about what I was thinking. It was like scary virus and scary. I had a ridiculous day today. My car wouldn't start this morning, and I realized that it was the battery, which is absurd because I just replaced the dang thing 6 months ago, and they're supposed to last like 5 years, and that was just the first thing that went wrong this morning. By the time I got to the store in the afternoon, I realized I didn't have my wallet with me. I had to go all the way back home. This is after having done other things.
So, yeah, that was our little video to show you some basic rules about recording good audio. You want to have it close to your mouth. If you're interviewing someone, for an interview that you want to include, like we heard in Alona's piece where she was talking with her sister, let them finish what they want to say. Don't interrupt. Ask open-ended questions so that you'll get like really thoughtful responses. Don't ask yes or no questions. You won't get anywhere. And try to find quiet spots to record in. So I now am going to play another excerpt of an audio diary that is by a guy named Joe Richmond, who lives in New York, and he runs an organization called Radio Diaries. And he has been doing these audio diaries with teenagers for a long time, and he actually has a really great handbook on his website, radiodiaries.org, for young people who want to make their own radio diaries. But this one is with a teenager named Josh who has a disorder called Tourette's syndrome, where he has kind of involuntary things that he says he can't really control, like the sounds and the words that come out of his mouth sometimes. And Aaron is going to explain a little bit more about what this shows and what we can learn from this excerpt. And Aaron, just tell me when you want me to play it.
Well, I think we should just play it and then talk about it a little bit afterwards.
Okay, here we go.
I go to St. Anne's School. It's in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm in 11th grade. I've been going there since I was in 1st grade.
What are you doing?
I'm doing a project on Tourette's for National Public Radio.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Can I, sing on this?
Okay, sing.
I love fishes because they're so delicious. I love that.
I was really scared to bring the tape recorder into school. I just assumed that they would just look at me as like some loser bringing a microphone into school. But as it turned out, they all jumped at the chance to be on the radio. I had to ward people off. What do you think about Tourette's? If somebody says Tourette's to you, what's the first thing that pops into your head?
What do you want me to say?
Anything you want.
Like what I've learned from you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I see that you have uncontrollable outbursts, and, sometimes they're funny, amusing, but most of the time they're just pain in the ass, because you got to put up with you cursing and yelling and running around.
Really nice. It's okay. Yeah, just say what you think.
But, you're a nice guy, and I've learned that from you.
Do you think it affects my relationships with other people? You don't want to do it?
Yes.
You do? How?
What I've heard about it is you say whatever you think.
Yeah, true.
And everyone thinks things which they wouldn't normally say. And, for example, if I said exactly what I thought about Sophie, she'd hit me. So
I do say exactly what I think about Sophie.
Josh loves Sophie.
No, just my honey bunch. Girls are a very touchy topic with me. Not physically, but I wish. I don't know, it's because I must say, not to gloat, but I am an attractive person. I'm cute, I am smart, I have a nice body, but a lot of the Tourettic things I do seem to drive other people, including girls, away.
Thanks.
Sophie, you want to sing something else? Okay, she wants to sing.
I love fish because it's so delicious.
I love fish because it's so delicious. Gonna go fishing.
Yay. Sophie.
Wasn't that wonderful? Thanks. Let's see how this came out. When I'm holding in a tick, when I'm holding it in all day in school, I just can't wait to get home so I can explode. I think I have lots of different kinds of ticks. There's coprolalia. You just start screaming profanity for no reason. And echolalia, where you just hear something or see something and you have to start repeating it. Like if you see something on TV. Sometimes I grab people and shake them around. Usually just my parents, fortunately for that. Even in New York, I'd look pretty weird on the street. Just going up to people and start shaking them around and screaming at them for no reason. It really just pisses me off sometimes, if you can say that on the radio. Because I didn't do anything to deserve it.
So, Erin, what do you think of that?
Oh, I just love this. I've listened to it quite a few times, and I think that this sort of brings it home in terms of a lot of the things we've talked about so far. So these are real life examples with active tape through conversations that he had at school. And then he came home and did his diary entry. And there's also what I am hearing, ambient recording, natural sound recordings. So it allows the story to run some background noise behind some of his reflections, which is like a little movie. So you do need to do quite a bit of recording. One of the best things is if you can have choices. You go into your mixing and you say, oh, I have this and I have this and I have this and I have this. And like what Ukweli said, sometimes it's hard to get extra audio from people to go back and to get what you need. So it's best to get as much as you can, as soon as you can, so you have choices. And that's the artistry of putting a story together and mixing it. Any story, but audio diaries, you can just really hear the active tape and the intimacy. So what I like about this too is, again, this really makes space for emotions. We have the laughter and we have the somber moments. And again, it shows that audio is an intimate medium. Our whole focus is on what we're hearing, and we're not distracted by anything else. And so it feels the intimacy of that is you have fewer barriers and fewer things to distract you. And the emotions, the vulnerability, the honesty of this conveys the storytelling, and it helps us understand what the storyteller is trying to say. And at the end of the day, the audience is learning about Tourette's through someone who has the expertise and the lived experience. And that's a real gift. But, you know, we also learned about what it's like to be a teenager at home taking care of a young sibling during the pandemic. We learned about stepping into the shoes of freshmen their first year on campus during the pandemic. So, to me, that's just the best of all worlds, to be able to learn from each other and learn from that lived experience and hear it and go into that. And so I think that's yet another great example of what we're talking about today.
Right. I think that's great. You summed it up really well. Ukweli, did anything jump out at you in listening to that?
Yeah, this is my first time hearing this one, and I agree with what Aaron was saying. And I think that this piece really did help the audience understand Tourette's, even if they didn't know something about it before, and not just by telling them about it, but by actually seeing how he interacted with his friends and hearing his experiences really helped the audience to empathize with him. So I really like that piece.
Yeah, I mean, one reason why I love that I picked that part in particular is because I really like hearing him learn about what his friends at school have learned about what he deals with and what they've taken away with that. And that's one thing that's cool about doing these kind of stories, is that when you're recording, it kind of gives you a license to ask anything, like he probably would not in his normal life have just asked his friends, what they think about him having Tourette's, or what they've learned about, what Tourette's is, but it gives that opening to do that. And so he learned along the way. We learn as listeners because we get to hear the final product. So all around, I encourage you to do audio diaries. And here are some links for resources where you can listen to other examples and find out, practical tips on how to do this. Especially I recommend, we have our KNKX Take the Mic project there. And then the Radio Diaries website has that terrific handbook that will kind of walk you through recording. And then Youth Radio and Radio Rookies and transom.org, they all are great resources for people learning the craft of audio storytelling. So we're so grateful to you. Thank you for joining us for this session, and stay in touch once you've produced your stories. Thank you.